Folks, we are back live on YouTube with Monday Night Nerd. Welcome, everybody. It is good to be back here in the hot seat here on Monday Night Nerd. We are back with another fun episode. This is not an episode I originally planned to do, but because of last week's cancellation, I now had a new topic that I think we should talk about because we don't really talk about wrestling on here as much as I would like to. So I thought this would be a fun episode to talk about, and that is WWE Live still fun to go to after all these years? Because I've been a fan of WWE for decades now, and I went to Monday Night Raw last Monday in Toronto at the Scotiabank Arena. And as an old school fan, a lot has changed, and we're going to talk all about what has changed. Is it worth it to go if you're an old school fan? Is it too much now? We're going to talk all about that. We're also going to talk about me going to see Ghost over the weekend in Toronto. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about Markiplier and Iron Lung, and we're going to talk about the new Megadeth album, the final Megadeth album, because I've got some opinions on that, and I think a lot of others do as well. But yeah, so if you were here, not last week, but the week before, the 19th of January, I can't believe it's been that long. If you were tuning into the show, you may have been one of those people who saw the stream abruptly cut. There's a reason for that, and in the past, we've had internet issues here on the show, and it was not one of those internet issues. The internet has been great ever since we've changed providers. However, the whole area around me went dark. The entire 5 to 6 block radius just went black when it comes to internet, phone, and TV. So it was not just me. So I feel bad that happened. I hate that it cut the stream. I tried to keep going, actually. I saw the little ticker of people in the stream drop to 0, and a couple people messaged me, but the messages weren't clear that the stream had dropped. They just kind of asked, they kind of said things like, oh, what happened and stuff like that, and I don't know if that's pertaining to the podcast or something else. So I thought, well, maybe if I keep going and I finish the episode, I can throw my phone onto a hotspot and see if I can get the stream to finish and record. But unfortunately, it did not work. So where it cut off on YouTube is kind of where it cut off. I can't really show the rest of it. We are going to redo that episode again later on in the future. It sucked, but it's all me. No, it wasn't just you. It happens. It's not the end of the world. We're just going to redo that episode later on. So I've had a couple people reach out saying they were really enjoying my list and they wanted to see where it went. So still got the list. We're just going to do it in the future. We might do it after the Family Day weekend break, and we'll see what happens. Let's jump into a little bit of news because we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. First, let's talk about the final Megadeth album. If you're a metal fan like I am, and you can tell by Ghost Rider, I've got my old patch vest that I used to wear in high school on him now. And Megadeth is right there. I'm a big Megadeth fan. I'm a big Metallica fan. I kind of like metal music, and I got a chance to finally listen to the new Megadeth album, the final Megadeth album. This is officially, well, as of now, Dave Mustaine has said this is going to be the final Megadeth album, and I've listened to it, and I have some mixed opinions on this. If you are not a Megadeth fan and you kind of know Metallica and stuff like that, Megadeth was formed by Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine used to be the guitar player in Metallica before they kind of exploded. He started off in that band. They kicked Mustaine out because of drugs and a whole bunch of other stuff. They brought in Kirk Hammett, who has been with the band forever, and then Metallica became Metallica, and Dave went off and did Megadeth, which I didn't really like Megadeth because I was a Metallica camp, but now we're in the day where everybody can like everything. So, this is the final Megadeth album. Davis had a lot of medical problems. He's had issue with his hands. Wear and tear of being on the road for decades and decades. And we finally get the final Megadeth album. And the songs overall feel very Megadeth. It was very interesting that the end track on the album is Ride the Lightning, a cover of Metallica's Ride the Lightning, which Dave Mustaine famously wrote a lot of that song, and he felt like he should, do his version of it, which is very similar to the Metallica version. The thing that I've caught, and the thing that I think a lot of people are happy happy about, because it's kind of a tribute to everything, but kind of also frustrating, is there is a song, it is one of, if not, it is the second last song on the album, called The Last Note. It is not a bad song, but it ends in a very slow, melodic, acoustic guitar way, where Dave kind of writes a poem about what his career has been. And a lot of people are doing tributes to it on TikTok and on social media of, this is Dave's kind of final words to the world and as an artist. And I gotta admit, it kind of disappointed me, because Megadeth is very, that like pushing the limits and going as fast as they can. And Dave kind of just goes out with a whimper at the end. Like the poem goes, they gave me gold, they gave me a name, but every deal was signed in blood and flames. So here's my last will, my final testament, my sneer. I came, I ruled, now I disappear. And if you know, as I just mentioned, and if you are a fan of Megadeth, Dave has always kind of had this rivalry with Metallica. And I feel like the last thing he talks about in this song is kind of like still looking for that love from Metallica, and I kind of feel bad for it at this point. Like over the years, a lot of people have made fun of it, and I've kind of been like, it sucks to get kicked out of a band and stuff, but now it's kind of becoming sad, and not in like I feel bad for Dave, like sad, like please get over this. Like your literal last lyrics of your band is, they gave me gold, they gave me name, but every deal was signed in blood and flames. Like that's such a like, they don't like me. And it just rubbed me the wrong way, that the Dave Mustaine I grew up with, and I'm, if you love the song, great. But to me, I expected him to just be like, running through a guitar solo or just power chording through a riff as hard as he could. And it just sort of at the end, and then to get a Metallica song as the last track on a Megadeth album is kind of like, man, you've never gotten over it. Even James Hetfield has brought this up in interviews of like, I love Dave, but he's never been able to get over one thing, even though he has done an amazing job with this band and has got worldwide acclaim. He's still just petty over that day where he got kicked out of the band. So overall, the album's okay. I've seen some of Megadeth's past members be like, it doesn't sound really like Megadeth. It kind of sounds like a half-assed version, and I kind of agree. My last album the last time I really cared about of theirs was United Abominations, which was like decades ago. Their newer stuff is pretty good, but I really like the United Abominations. So overall, it's not a bad album. I feel like you're probably going to hear a couple of the songs on the tour coming up, but I hate saying that their better years are behind them, but their better years are behind them. So that's my thought on the album. Let's keep going through music a bit, because I went to a concert this weekend, which was a lot of fun. And I want to talk about this one because, A, I'm a big fan of this band, but also it was an interesting experience. I went to see Ghost over the weekend at the Scotiabank Arena, and this show in particular was a concert where you could not use your cell phone. Yeah, that's the thing. So what they've done is they've partnered up with this company called Yondor, I believe it is. And what happens is you show up, you show your tickets, and as soon as you walk in, they give you a little pouch where you put your phone in, they lock it shut, and you cannot use your phone. You carry it around on like a little satchel with a lanyard on it. And you just can't use your cell phone to videotape the show, do text, or anything like that. There are designated spaces around the arena. I believe there was 3 different spaces where you could go, and they would section you off in the roped area, and you could unlock it, and if you got a text or something like that, that's important. But overall, you cannot use your cell phone. And as someone who's been going to shows since the early 2000s, I did go to concerts back in the day where I never used my cell phone. And even now, I don't use my cell phone that often at a show. I am not someone who is holding their phone up recording videos through the whole thing. I might take a couple photos if there's a cool moment. At Metallica, I took a whole bunch of photos just because they were literally like right here. But overall, I usually don't have my cell phone when I'm at a show. I tell my wife, we had this sort of similar situation when we went to our honeymoon. We went to Universal and Disney, And there was the regular line for the rides, and then there was what's known as a single rider line. So if you're on your own, they take that line and they fill in the spots like an individual person. And the couples or group line was taking forever. And we kind of looked at each other like, I'm not going to look over at you and be like, isn't this cool? So we don't really give a crap if I'm in car 4 and she's in car 7. So it's same thing with concerts. Like, I'm not going to be sitting there going like, isn't this, I'm looking at the show through my phone. Isn't this incredible? Like, no, I want to watch the show. So it didn't really bother me. We were really concerned that there would be a lot of people fighting it, but actually it was stupidly easy. So if you ever have to go to a comedy show, because this is something that happens at comedy shows all the time, or a concert, don't be worried that it's going to take forever to get in and get out. We got in super fast and we got out even faster. We got in probably 5 minutes. We got out in probably the same, if not a little less. They had a whole bunch of people outside that easily like unhooked or unlocked your thing. You pulled your cell phone out, you gave them the bag, you're out. Like, it was quick. The show overall, if you don't know who Ghost is, you've been living under a rock. Ghost is a great rock band right now. I always tell people it is a mix between Kiss and Blue Oyster Cult. So you've got the theatrics of Kiss, but you kind of have the devilish, satanic style of rock and roll of Blue Oyster Cult. And it was a lot of fun. This is the second time I've seen Ghost. I saw them just before the pandemic, and this is my first time with my wife. My wife has become a fan over the past couple of years, and when we heard they were coming around for their new album, we had to go see them. An amazing show. They did a bunch of songs off the new album, which I have to admit I have not listened to as much as I probably should. Lots of theatrics, big set pieces on screens and other things, pyro going off. A lot of fun. A good solid 2.5 hours. If you're a fan of Ghost, you definitely should go. They do an incredible show. Actually, I was looking at their set list, and if you're worried they're going to do like some bands do where they're just going to play a lot of the new album, they don't. I think when I looked at, if you go to guys, if you're a music fan and you're going to a show and you want to know what the set list is, there's a website out there called setlist.fm. People go on there and they update it with band set lists, so you can see over the past few dates what the set list is, so you can get an idea of what's happening. I went on there before for the night to look at the night before set, and it was actually about an even 5-5-5-5 split of all of their albums. So it was a nice mix of early Ghost, new Ghost, and yeah, it was a great show. My wife was very happy with it. She was singing her butt off. I was singing my butt off. And yeah, great theatrics, great band. I highly recommend it. Like I said, if you're into the theatrics, you're really going to love it. I know there's some people, they've gotten pretty big over the past few years, and I know some fans have kind of dropped off because they used to be very satanic type lyrics, and now they've kind of made more of a rock pop album and with some satanic lyrics in, and some people aren't into that. But I still think they're an incredible band. They're really evolving. It's overall a great show. Go check them out. Their name is Ghost. They rock. All right. 2 more quick news things, then we're going to jump into the main event. If you're on the internet right now, you know about a man named Markiplier and how well this man is doing over the past weekend. Famous on YouTube for 100,000 different things. This man wrote, directed, starred, and distributed a movie called Iron Lung. This movie is based off the video game that he has live played before. He's a big fan of the game. He talked to the guy who created it and said, I want to do a film about this, and he did. All self-funded, all self-published, didn't go to, an MGM or at Amazon or anything like that. He tried to, nobody wanted it, so he went out and did it on his own. He made a movie for around $7 million. It's not a big, zombie apocalypse movie. It is about a prisoner who is put onto a submarine and brought down into a planet that has been flooded with blood, if I remember correctly. Really cool game from what I've seen. I haven't seen a whole ton of it, but from the clips I saw when I first heard the movie was being made, it looks like a really dope game. Really puzzle-centric. He made it for $7 million, and over the past weekend, it came out in theaters at around 3,000 screens, and he has made over $17 million with this movie. He has almost tripled how much it cost to make this movie. And from what I've seen, Hollywood is not too thrilled with this, because this is not a movie that had a distributor. This is not a movie that had a big budget star. This is not a movie that had a whole bunch of CGI that cost billions and billions of dollars to make. This was a guy who had a passion project, who had a giant fan base, not from Hollywood, and did a passion project, and it did amazing based off of how much of a fan everyone is of him. And it was really interesting looking at, I believe it was the Hollywood Reporter that was going over what the movies made over the weekend. He was listed, and again, don't quote me if it was Hollywood Reporter or another magazine or another news article. He was number one on Friday. The number one movie for the Friday night was Iron Lung. And then the next day, Saturday and Sunday, he was not on the list out of like the top 20 movies. So he went from number one to supposedly didn't even really make a dime the next 2 days. And a lot of fans of his are questioning if that is true. And from what is being dug up, it is not true. He did, I think the first night he did about 7 million, and then got the next little bit the rest couple days. And yeah, it looks like Hollywood's not too thrilled with him, because this is someone that they did not sort of grant access to the theater market. So it is going to be interesting to see what happens now, because if someone is able to do this and do it successfully and not need a big budget studio to do it, you've now broken down a big barrier on, supposedly, from what Hollywood has said, an industry that is dying, which is the most interesting of all these things. Not that he just made a movie on his own and did well. It did well in the theaters. People came out to the theaters to see this movie when Hollywood is having so much trouble getting people into the movies. So, kind of interesting how people have said over the past few years since the pandemic that all they really want is something good to go see, and they'll go out to see it. The problem is they might not be being served what they want. So we'll see where this goes, but good for Markiplier. If I was not busy on Friday and Saturday night, I was contemplating going to see it. I am very interested in seeing it. It looks like it's going to be a great movie. The reviews are coming in. They're saying it is kind of a slow burn because the game is kind of a slow burn, but it looks like it has been. Everyone seems like they like the ending. And you know what? For how big this was and for how many people went to see it, I have not seen any spoilers for it for the past couple days. And I don't subscribe to Markiplier. I don't watch Markiplier, but I have not seen anyone spoil the ending. And supposedly he went out either on his stream or he went to it was either on his stream or he went to the Chinese theater in Hollywood and kind of said to everybody, like, thank you for coming to see the movie opening night. Please do not spoil it. So it seems like the internet's doing what he asked, which is amazing. So this could be a little bit of a turning point, or at least the first beacon on where these theater attractions are going to be going from now on, and not just be big giant Hollywood blockbusters. Pretty Nerdy Crystal said Taylor not to bring her into it. She also skipped the studios and went to AMC and had exclusive. Yes, another person. So that's two people that have done very, very well that didn't need the Hollywood system to do well. So very interesting. Last, and sort of kicking off the wrestling topic for the night, the Royal Rumble was last weekend. And the Royal Rumble is probably the most loved wrestling pay-per-view for any fan from any decade, because it is just a fun event. If you're not a wrestling fan, and there are definitely some in the chat that aren't, the Royal Rumble is a match where you have 30 superstars. They come in one at a time at timed intervals, usually a minute, and the only way to win is to throw your opponent over the top rope. The last person who is there wins and gets a shot at the WWE Championship. Now, usually this is on Saturday night, and it's usually late. However, this year, the Royal Rumble was in Saudi Arabia, so it had a good time difference for me because I had to go to Ghost that night, and literally the Rumble ran up to the minute that we had to walk out the door, so I was worried I wasn't going to see it. I ended up seeing all of it and then went straight to Ghost. Now, as Justin says in the chat, Royal Rumble was awful. Well, as a diehard wrestling fan, as someone who's been a wrestling fan since 1997 and has seen every Royal Rumble, it was not my favorite. It was not the top 10. It was probably not the top 20. They had a lot of issues. The first one being the Saudi Arabia crowd, or lack thereof. And this is the interesting thing because I've seen multiple reports from different angles. So Saudi Arabia, from what everyone can assume, this was not really something WWE wanted to do, but the Saudi Arabian government wanted wrestling there and wanted a major pay-per-view. They've done little pay-per-views here and there, but this year's the Rumble. Next year, they're doing WrestleMania. So with the Royal Rumble, they built this arena in about 20 days, and with the way the wrestling business is back in the day, if a country wanted the wrestling to come there, it was easier for them to say, we're going to pay you X number of dollars, we're going to pay the WWE X number of dollars, and we're just going to distribute the tickets ourselves. Like WWE, no matter what happens, you're going to make X number of dollars, bring the pay-per-view. So that's kind of what they did. And from what it looked like, and this Justin in chat said, I saw a video of someone showing the seats were empty. Now, this is where the problem lies because I've seen both sides of this. The way they built this arena was it looked like every seat had a big square light behind their head so they could do a light show. From what it looked like in most of the pay-per-view, it looked empty. Like this looked like a 50,000 seat arena with about 5,000 people in it. Now, I've seen multiple pictures throughout the show and reports from people who were there that said there was a ton of stuff going on outside that kept people from getting in, as well as because of the lights were in between people, so some sections looked emptier than they were. I'm not saying it was a sold-out show. There are clearly a lot of empty seats in the venue, but overall, from a TV perspective, it looked absolutely terrible because it looked like they were playing to an empty arena. Whatever. Doesn't matter. They obviously got a whole ton of money to go there. Attendance didn't matter to them. When it comes to the Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble was probably the highlight of the night, I think. SoCal did incredible. She is a performer from NXT. She blew everybody out of the water, in my opinion. The ending was I kind of assumed Alexa Bliss was going to win, and she did. That is going to be very interesting going into WrestleMania, what they're going to do, if they're going to break up the Judgment Day. I know I'm not going into detail of all who these people are because I'd be here for a whole another episode if I did. Overall, I think it was not Liv. Sorry, not Alexa. Liv. There's so many people on the roster now. I'm forgetting all these names mixed up. Because they're going to possibly break up the Judgment Day because of what Finn Balor did. Interesting that they're going to have Liv go to WrestleMania. Overall, again, it was probably the best match. A lot of fun spots. Rhea and Chelsea Green did a fun little spot. Overall, but the Bellas are back. I don't care. Never liked them. Then we went into AJ versus Gunther with AJ's career on the line. If you are on Twitter, on X, you know that a friend of AJ's, Shinsuke Nakamura, did put out a post 4 or 5 days before that, talking about how him and AJ had a conversation, and AJ said that Royal Rumble would be his last match. Spoiler, it was AJ's last match as of now. I do think he is going to go to TNA. Gunther did make AJ pass out, so AJ's career in WWE at least is over, which was sad to see, but, you know, you kind of already had the John Cena retirement, and that kind of took everybody and made everybody emotional, and to some people fell flat. This just didn't really have it. It kind of sucked. The match was good. AJ was great. But overall, kind of meh. We kind of all saw it coming. Next, we had, who was it? Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. It was a pretty good match. I didn't really watch a ton of it. I was actually getting ready for Ghost at that point just to make sure I had everything. I had a very good suspicion that they were not going to put the belt on Sami Zayn at that point, so it was a pretty foregone conclusion that Drew was going to win. Hey, guess what? Drew kept his belt. Don't really care. Men's Royal Rumble. Kind of disappointing. Honestly, kind of disappointing. I did enjoy the opening, though, where they took out Braun Breaker as entry number 1, because that kept him from having to get eliminated and kind of starting a rivalry. Now we have this masked individual of who attacked him, who helped him get eliminated. I do think it is Logan Paul's brother. I do think it's Jake Paul, because we'll talk about this at Raw, when we talk about me going to Raw, because this did happen on Raw. When we were sitting there and Logan Paul kind of stood up with Vision and said, the person who we should back behind is Braun Breaker, I was like, Logan's turning. And then when I saw the attack, I'm like, it's his bloody brother. I know it's his brother. Now we're going to have both of them take on, they're going to be, either they're probably going to be heel because everybody hates Logan Paul. But that was fun. Justin Smith said La Parka. Why? Why? Because they want people to start watching CMLL or AAA. I can't remember the Mexican promotion they bought. AAA. Because they wanted people to watch the Mexican promotion. That's why. That's why they had Iguana in. That's why they had all of those guys in there. That's exactly why. And I think that's good. I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that. I know based off Cody Rhodes' podcast that The Undertaker's down there helping them get their production going and kind of getting the storyline feel of it. I'm also a WCW fan. Yeah, it wasn't even the Real Apart. Yeah, because the Real Apart is like 80 right now. I was going to say, I'm a WCW guy. Back in the day, I watched both, so I liked La Parka. He was the chairman of WCW. So just seeing him there, I mean, there's so many generational talents like that are luchadors that, the sons and sons and sons keep the legacy going. So it didn't really bother me that much. Overall, it was just kind of a boring Rumble. Like, there wasn't a ton of, and I don't need all the surprises. It was just kind of a meh match. I'm happy it's Roman. I had a feeling it was going to be Roman. I got a feeling he's going to, I've got a feeling he's going to be somehow involved with The Rock going into WrestleMania, because they've mentioned that Rock's probably going to come back for something. So I'm interested. I would have liked it to be somebody else, but overall it could have been a flat Rumble and at least Roman winning. I'm like, it's interesting. Let's see where they'll go with it. So as of now, Raw is just about to start or has already started. So we'll see what happens, because they've already announced that the Rumble winners are going to be there. So overall, I'd give the Rumble maybe a 5. Maybe less, maybe a 4.5. It wasn't the best Rumble. That crowd would kind of killed it. It felt very similar to what the pandemic shows look like, where it was just dead air and you didn't have that. No Y2J. Nah, it was too well known. Justin said no Chris Jericho. No, I didn't see Chris Jericho being there. I'm glad he wasn't. It was too much internet chatter about it. We need people to sort of die down on it a bit and then bring him in. Like, bring him in at Elimination Chamber or something where no one notices. Because as soon as people are like, Y2J is coming, it's like, well, then the surprise is gone. I'm honestly surprised. Out of anybody from the Rumble, I'm surprised they didn't have Ethan Page in there. And that's not just because I'm from Hamilton and he's a hometown boy. But they had a couple NXT people, and I figured they'd have Ethan Page in there doing something with the Rumble. But he was on the big poster thing, so that's what everyone was saying. Like, they're going to have a bunch of NXT guys. They didn't have Tonga in there. They didn't have him, so, oh well. Yeah, overall, 4.5, 5. Yeah, okay, Rumble. If you guys are still here, I greatly appreciate it. If you guys can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, all those things. We're here every single week, or at least almost every single week. We'll be here next week for one more episode, and then we're going to take Family Day off, because I usually take Family Day off. But also, I'm going on vacation, so won't be here that week. But then after that, we got a whole bunch of shows ready for you guys. Sponsor, as always, you know this if you've been here. The sponsor, my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife. I would not be doing this if it wasn't for her. And that is not me sucking up. That is just the truth. I'm a very different person because of my wife. I have so much better mental health because of my wife. Hun, I love you. You will always be my sponsor. All right, let's jump into Raw. So last week was kind of a crazy night. So I was up here, I want to say Wednesday, 2 weeks ago. So the 21st, I think it was. And I got a call from my buddy Gavin. Actually, he's like a brother to me. We've been friends and basically family for about 2 decades. And he said, what are you doing this Monday? And I said, my podcast. Why? And he goes, well, my wife got me tickets to Monday Night Raw for us, and she can't go. You want to go? And I said, well, how much do they cost? And he goes, doesn't cost you anything. He goes, your family. You're coming if you want him. I said, okay, free tickets to Raw. Yeah, I'm not going to say no to that. So we went to Monday Night Raw. And I, as I've said before, have been a fan of wrestling since 1997. I've been to WrestleManias. I've been to SummerSlams. I've been to live events, just untaped house shows. I've been to SmackDowns. I've been to ECWs. I've been to all different forms. I don't believe, and I looked at my tickets that are just behind my camera over here, I don't think I've been to a Raw before. So this was my first time going to Monday Night Raw. And I really wanted to see what wrestling is like now, because the last time I went to WWE was the last time SummerSlam was in Toronto, because we did SummerSlam and NXT, and it was not a bad show, but it just felt kind of, I don't know if because I'm older, I didn't enjoy it as much, or just the pay-per-view kind of bleh, but I haven't been in years, and I know the WWE has grown over the past few years since the pandemic and a whole lot more. So I was really interested to see what was different. Did the show feel different? Did it feel the same? And overall, was it worth it to go as an old school fan? Because I used to watch everything. Like right behind me, as I've told on the podcast before, I used to have my VCR over here, and I was digitizing all my old VHS, and I've got them right here, and most of my old VHSs are all WWE stuff. So I am a hardcore fan back in the day, but since I'm now 37 and married and cosplay and do stuff like this, I don't watch it as regularly. After the show, I will probably not go down and watch Raw. I will see the results tomorrow and see if anything cool happened, but that's it. But I wanted to see if this was any different. So when we got there, we ended up driving most of the way. And then what I do and my wife do when we go to the PWHL, the Women's Hockey League, at the exhibition grounds, we take the train in about 3 or 4 stops, just because if you ever have been to Toronto, you know getting into Toronto can be a pain in the ass sometimes. And finding parking can be a pain in the ass. So we park outside the city and then take a couple train stops in. Makes life a lot easier, so much less stress. So we ended up doing that, and we got there pretty early. We got to walk around a bit, and it was really cool going into the train station, because the train station in Toronto has it's been all redone recently, and there's a big cafeteria with a whole bunch of other food places and stuff. So we kind of went down there and got lunch, and this was the first time I really was able to kind of sit back, eat some food, and look around. And there was tons of people walking around with not just WWE merch, but like merch they just purchased, because there was a merch stand outside on the concourse level outside the arena. So it was really cool. Kind of like, I don't want to say before, when I used to go, you didn't see those people and they were hiding it, but I didn't really have like a space outside the arena where you can kind of all, I don't want to say congregate, but just sort of hang out. And there was people with like Bret Hart t-shirts. There was people with CM Punk shirts, a lot of Cody Rhodes, Trish Stratus, Canadian people, obviously, but like a wide variety of fans, not just the normal, not just the current fan and not just the past fan, a very good mix of both, which was nice to see, because I didn't want to feel like I'm the old guy who's just like, I know what's going on, but just like, this doesn't feel like back in the day. Justin said, how much of the belts at live shows? It depends. So, because WWE's partnered with Fanatics, they have a bunch of different belts now. So they've got the regular WWE belts, and then they've also got sports teams belts. So they had Leaf belt, they had a Raptors belt, they had a Jays belt. Then they had specific people belts. So they had, I believe they had a Bret Hart tribute world title there. They had, I want to say, a Trish Stratus women's belt there. Anyways, they have a bunch of different ones. The regular normal championships, I believe, are around 500 Canadian, if not more. I know when I saw the photo of the Bret Hart belt, that's why I don't know if it was here, if it was in Montreal. That one was like 900 Canadian, so a little stupidly priced. Yeah, they're kind of crazy, although I did see a lot of people walking around with them, and I saw a lot of kids walking around with the foam toy belts. I wanted one so much when I was growing up, and I'm glad I got one. Thankfully, my wife got me one for, that was my wedding present from my wife, was my world championship that's upstairs in our bedroom. It is not the current one. It is a harder to get one, and I actually love this belt for the reason of not many people had it. It was this WWE style now, but it was one of the first ones with the scratch logo on it, and only like Cena, Orton, Bryan, and Miz, I think, held it. So there's only like 4 or 5 people and Rock, there's like 4 or 5 people that have ever held that belt. So I'm like, I'm in good company with only 4 or 5 people. But yeah, they're pricey. They're very, very pricey. And I'm glad I got one and I don't need any more, because there was a time in my life where I would have bought like everyone. So we got ready for the show. We ended up lining up, and there was a ton of people lining up. And this is something, I don't know if this is just today's crowd or what, but like, I don't remember having that big of a lineup to get into these shows. Like, Ghost was kind of crazy for how many people were there. Like, it's the same size arena as we used to go to, but like, took forever to some people to get in. When we saw, who else? We saw something else there recently. Like, we've been to 4 or 5 shows in like the past 6 months, and it's just been like crowds of people getting into these venues. I'm like, I don't remember it being that bad to get into some of these shows. So it took a little while to get in. Thankfully, we were able to kind of, push our way through the crowds. And we got in, and my first thought was, let's go to, were you waiting outside? No. So that's interesting. Thank you, Marcy. I'm glad you brought that up. So when you go through the GO station at Toronto, you can go, there's an entrance that you can go straight to from the GO station. We did that for Raw. And when we got there, we kind of had to sort of wiggle our way through. For Ghost, we went around to the outside, and there was like 5 people in line because it was cold as hell. But we ended up getting super quick. But even when we got in there, and this was kind of a problem with Ghost too, but not really, because they had more options. They only had like 2 merchandise tables for Raw, and they were huge lines. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was 100 people in the line. And like, not like, I don't want to say like they used to be, where it would be like a crowd of people. It was just a line that like went down and around the arena. Like, I bet if I kept walking, they would have touched at the other end of the arena. So I was wanting to look at merch and get merch, but I also didn't want to stand in line for possibly hours at a time. So we just ended up going up and getting our seats. So I knew we were going to be at the 300 level, because that's what Gavin had told me, but Gavin wasn't 100% aware where in the 300s we were. So we were actually kind of behind the screen, kind of. And I say kind of because we could see the ring, but we could also see the back of the screen. We could kind of see the entrance area, like the what they call the gorilla position area. And literally next to Gavin's seat was the tarp, that they tarp off sections that aren't being used. And it wasn't bad seats, like free Raw tickets. I don't give a shit if I'm in the nosebleeds, like whatever. But we kind of had, we went up, we talked to the security girl that was, or not the security girl, but the girl was just showing us where our seats are. And she goes, oh, where your seats are, they may have tarped them off. And if they tarp them off, you have to go down to customer service and they'll give you tickets and move you. And we went, okay. So we went up and we sat down in our seats and we kind of looked at each other and like, it's right next to you. Do we think that they like wrote down the numbers? Probably not. Let's go try. So we went down to customer service and Gavin went up and talked to them and said, well, one of our seats is covered. And they said, oh, okay, here's 2 other tickets. And they moved us from behind the curtain or behind the screen over to the other side so we can see the whole screen. Still up in the 3rd row, like 3rd section. So it wasn't like they put us on the floor or anything like that. But seats to pretty good seats. And the show overall was not a bad show. You know, I was kind of sitting here when we got back, a couple days after we got back, and I was going through my ticket stubs, and if you see where I'm pointing, and you guys on TikTok will see it, behind where I'm pointing is I have a big plaque, well, not plaque, but a big frame with all my ticket stubs in it, as I like collecting those. And by the way, when they moved us, they gave us ticket stubs, which was kind of dope. So I have a ticket stub to a wrestling show that most people don't have a ticket stub for. So if they ever become collector's items in the future, I got a rarity. But I'm looking through my ticket stubs and I'm kind of going through, you know, I've been to a bunch of shows and I'm going through them kind of going like, which ones were good, which ones are bad? And obviously the WrestleManias and the SummerSlams and all that were great. But then I'm looking through some of these live shows and some of SmackDowns and stuff. And I'm like, man, there wasn't a ton of these shows that were worth it. Like, I didn't pay a ton to see some of these shows. Back in the day, you'd get tickets for like $50, $60, but now they'd be stupid prices. And I'm like, honestly, I probably saw a lot of shitty shows back in the day. It wasn't a bad show overall. Like, it was actually a pretty good show. Honestly, if I watched this on TV, I would have been entertained. It was pretty good. One of the things that caught me off guard with the beginning, and this is me being an old school fan, and I don't mean old school fan like back in the 90s, I mean like recently, there's no pyro at the beginning. When the hell that happened? Like, is that just a Netflix thing? Like, they just do like the Netflix logo and like the past, present, and future video. And I'm like, I'm not expecting across the nation or something like that, but like usually, and I'm not saying that, you know, it's always been this way, but back in the day, that would be the hype of just like, you know, these Hear the Raw song kick on and and the lights are going and everything. Nothing like that. It was just literally like the Netflix logo. And then that video hit and then we're like, and we're in Toronto. And we show people backstage. And I'm like, well, that didn't hype me up too much. It was kind of a cold open in my opinion. But I don't know. And other people had pyro. So it's not like, you know, we've crammed too many people into the arena. It's sold out so much that we can't do pyro. Like AJ had pyro. Rhea Ripley had her boom pyro and stuff. So I'm like, okay. But overall, it was a good show. If you guys didn't see Raw last week, I'm not going to go through a blow by blow. But it is interesting to see that I kind of was there for an interesting moment. And this is something I was looking at when we were going because I had a feeling of what was going to happen at the Rumble. And I was kind of looking back at past events. But like, I was there for AJ Styles' last WWE match, kind of. Like, his second last match was at Raw. And then I was thinking, like, man, I remember going to WrestleMania 18 and thinking about how stacked that roster was back in that day of, like, I saw like DDP's only WrestleMania. I saw Scott Hall's last WrestleMania. I saw Nash's last WrestleMania. I saw Hollywood Hogan's last WrestleMania. Like, only WrestleMania is Hollywood Hogan. Like, all these things are like, man, they do a lot of crazy things in Toronto. Cena's heel turn was in Toronto. Like, Toronto is an area where they don't mind kind of throwing those crazy moments at people. So it was kind of nuts, kind of sitting there going like, wow, I'm here for possibly AJ's last winning or whatever was going to happen before we found out what the match was going to be. One of his last matches. So that was nice to go to see. There was a 6-woman tag match, which wasn't bad. The Vision had their little thing with Adam Pearce talking about, who's going to be in the Rumble, and they announced all of them are going to be there. It was very interesting seeing what happened to Rey Mysterio. If you're unaware, Braun Breaker and the Vision started beating up a whole bunch of people, including Rey Mysterio, because Rey Mysterio was in there with Austin Theory, and there was some talk about what happened. And I'll tell you right now, when we were there, Austin did, I want to say it was a code breaker to Rey or some move like that. And Rey kind of rolled over to the side and was kind of holding himself. And then the Vision came in and did all their stuff. And then they were going after Rey because I think Braun kind of ran through and speared all the members, did it to Penton, did it to Phoenix. And then he was going to spear Rey. And I remember looking down at that ref, and that ref is jumping on Braun to get away from Rey. And I've seen enough wrestling to be like, that was not a, no, don't hurt him. That was, do not touch him. And I was like, oh, something's wrong. Like, Rey's hurt. And they were really kind of covering him, like, do not touch Rey. So I thought he was going to be out, but he was in the Rumble and he seemed to be doing fine. So I guess everything's good. But there was a lot of reports coming out after Raw saying Rey's hurt and I don't know what's going to happen to him. So that kind of caught me off guard. And then the main event, which I was so happy to see because I am a giant CM Punk fan and I am a pretty big AJ Styles fan, and seeing them go for the main event and have a good match, a really good match. I knew there was going to be some sort of interference. I didn't see it would be Finn Balor because I should have noticed because of the promo he did earlier. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that main event. Like I said, I've been to some live events, I've been to some SmackDowns, I've been to some pay-per-views where they've just fallen flat. But overall, that was a good show, and I'm glad I went. And then after the show, we ended up getting some merch because at that point the merch lines were pretty slow. Everyone wanted to leave at that point. All of the shirt prices, for those wondering, are like $60, $50, $60. They had some John Cena autographed 8x10s there still. Looks like they were from Saturday Night's Main Event, his last show. They're just selling them off. They're $100. And then they had some older Trish Stratus shirts there. The blue ones, if you were at the Elimination Chamber, her 25th anniversary shirts. And they were $20. And I'm like, I'll take a Trish shirt for $20. Like, yeah, I'll take it. So I ended up getting a Trish shirt for $20. So now I have 2 Trish shirts after, only a year. But yeah. And the merch choices were great. Like, from what I saw, they had shirts for everybody. They had Gunther shirts. They had Jey Uso stuff. They had specific shirts for the event, which is something they're due now kind of at any major arena. They had a collab Rhea Maple Leafs shirt, and they had a Jey Uso Raptors shirt, which both sold out pretty much. Gavin wanted one of the Raptor shirts, but they were kind of down to smalls and mediums at that point. So overall, was it worth it? I think so. It is not Raw and WWE of the 90s or 2000s, and I wasn't expecting it. But overall, it was a good experience. Now, is it sort of like going to a Value Village or something where some days you go and it's kind of a luck of the draw? Like, it could be a good show, it could be a crummy show. Yeah, but it's like that at any event. It's like that at any hockey game. It's like that at any sporting event. Like, your team could get obliterated and you wish you didn't spend the money. Of course that can happen. But overall, I thought it was a fine night. Tickets were what they were. Like, that's kind of the world we live in now until something changes. So if you're okay spending the money and you're not putting yourself into debt, I don't see a problem of going. A lot of kids there. Like, a lot more kids than I expected. And I'm not saying WWE is not a kid thing anymore, but like, when it comes to the prices of things, I didn't think there'd be enough families going to make it work. Like, I didn't think there'd be that many families wanting to pay like a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister prices. But ton of kids, ton of belts, ton of merch. Overall, WWE's doing great. And it was a fun night. So if you're an old school fan and you're don't go in thinking it's going to be the 90s, don't go in thinking it's going to be the 2000s, you're going to have a fun time. Like, if you are a diehard WWE fan now, you'll love it. If you're kind of watching now, you'll probably enjoy it. If you're not watching now and you're just an old school fan, you haven't watched in years, tune into a Raw. Like, everything's on Netflix now in Canada and most of the world. So if you're anywhere but the States, sorry. Check out Netflix. Check out a pay-per-view. Check out a Raw. Check out a SmackDown. See if you like anything. And if you do, give it a shot. Because overall, it was a fun show. And, overall, it was good. I got no complaints. It was a free ticket for me. All I had to do was buy Gavin lunch. Or buy Gavin dinner. And that was it. So I was happy. That's kind of it. Yeah. I hope you guys are having a good week. It is bloody cold in here. Not here, but outside. I hope it warms up a little bit. I'd love for the snow to melt a little bit. Next week, we will be back for one more episode before vacation. We're going to do a fun episode. We're not going to talk about wrestling. We're not going to even talk about cosplay. We're going to talk about 10 comics, graphic novels, that new readers should read. If you're not a comic book fan, because we're in a world now where comics and stuff are not the mainstream anymore. Anime is and other things. We're going to do an episode where we talk about what I think, if you're a new Marvel fan and you want to get into the comic book side of it, these are the books you should read. These are the ones you should go out and look for. So we're going to talk about that, and then we are going to take a week off. So thank you folks for hanging out with me. If you want to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all that, it would greatly appreciate it. If you have me on TikTok, you should. I'm going to be there probably at least a couple times this week doing some cosplaying. We are working on my Darius cosplay, and I'm going to try and do some live streams on TikTok. We're going to work on some patterning. We're going to work on some foam work and a whole lot more. If you are just on YouTube and you're not sitting here subscribed to the channel, you should, because for the next month, I've got at least 2 long-form videos coming out along with the podcast and a whole bunch of shorts coming out. We have some tutorials, we have some cosplay opinions, we have some clips from some past shows, and a whole lot more. So you should subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok. I'm going to let you guys go. Enjoy your night. I'm going to go down and have some food, and I'm going to play some Red Dead Redemption probably, because I stupidly started playing Red Dead Redemption when I'm supposed to be cosplaying. I'm an idiot, because God, that game's fun. But I will see you guys on TikTok throughout the week, and if I don't, I will see you back here next week, Monday Night Nerd, Monday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, LIVE live. Have a good night, folks. I'll see you very soon. Love you. Take care. We'll see ya. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.